Okay, I am speaking with Troy Spry, Exclusive Thoughts, and we are at one of his, what is it called, exclusive conversations?
Exclusive convos. It's a
What?
conversation party.
A conversation party.
Yeah.
How'd you come up with this idea?
It's kind of, it was really organic. So what ended up happening is, if you follow me on Twitter, what you see is on Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays, we have something called the LTD, which is a lunchtime discussion. And so one of my followers just came to me one day and said, this is so intense, it's such a great thing that you do. I think we should bring it to real life, in person. And so that's what we did. I said, let me figure out how to bring this in person. And that's what Exclusive Convos came into. Yeah, so it's really just a lunchtime discussion, but it's in person. But it also fosters an environment for people to socialize, to get to meet like-minded people, and pretty much meet mates, maybe. So it's almost like a conversation with a purpose.
Okay.
Is what I call it. So that's how it came about. And this is the third one, and it's growing monumental. Yeah, it's good stuff.
Now, are you from Charlotte originally or somewhere else?
No, I'm from Columbia, South Carolina, actually.
Okay,
So,
South Carolina.
Yeah, I've been in Charlotte it'll be 2 years in January, I believe it is. Yeah.
And I read your bio, and it said that you started these talks and you started the relationship coaching after your mom passed away.
Yes. So it's kind of it's like my pain birthed my purpose. It's kind of what I call it. So one day I was just kind of sitting there when she passed away, and I was trying to figure out what to do with my thoughts and my feelings, and so I just decided to write a blog. Something just spoke to me and said, write a blog. And so I wrote about it. So my first blog ever was called A Mother's Love. And then I took it from there after people commented and wrote me emails and said, I really love your writing. I think I can really relate to it. And then I just started talking about relationship stuff that I saw every day when I was out just in the real world. And people started relating to it. And as that grew, the audience grew, and now we're here. So I decided, okay, my mission is going to be to help people create better relationships so we can ultimately have better communities.
Now, one of the knocks on relationship gurus, experts, coaches, etc., is that they don't have a background in anything dealing with relationships, sociology, psychology, nothing. Do you have a background in psychology or anything like that?
So I studied psychology in undergrad, so I've always been a fan of the study of human behavior. And so I've studied it since I was in undergrad. Do I have an advanced degree? No. But am I good at what I do? Yeah, very much so. So what you'll see is relationships, they're bigger than just what you see in a book, right? A book can teach you theory, but life is what teaches you experiences and what teaches you how to actually handle situations. And I've been through enough to be able to relate. And I've talked to enough people. I seek counsel from enough people to understand what relationships are from beginning to end. And I just kind of transfer that over to my clients. And so my clients get results.
What makes you any different than some of the others out there? I have seen several times there's a guy, I won't call his name, and you already know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And people are very turned off by relationship experts because typically what you see is a lot of women following relationship experts, and they want to know, what are you telling men?
Mm-hmm. So what separates me is, number one, I start with people first. Right? So it's not necessarily about relationships. It's the whole mission is better people equals better mates, which equals better relationships and equals better communities. So I believe if we all start within ourselves, and we all value ourselves in a different way, and we hold ourselves to a higher standard, then we automatically become better mates. Right? And once we become better mates, and we have two healthy people that come together in a relationship, now we're fostering an environment for a better community. Right? So that's the whole purpose. That's the difference in my mission and I think a lot of other people's mission. You can talk about healthy relationships, but if you don't talk about healthy people first, then you don't build healthy relationships. So that's kind of where I differentiate myself. So when I say that, when you talk about men, I wouldn't say attack, but I go after men all the time. Right? So it's like we're supposed to be leaders. We're supposed to be accountable. So we have to raise our standard as men in order for our women to be able to follow us. Right? So I know the argument would be, well, why should I have to follow you? Well, we do need to become partners, but at the end of the day, most women want a strong man that they can follow their lead. And I think as we become more accountable as men, then women will raise their standards as well.
So you said you focus on healthy people, so healthy being, then healthy relationship, then healthy family, then healthy community? Is that what we're talking?
Better people, better mates, better relationships, better communities. right? So that's kind of I think that's the angle that it goes on, right? So everything, it's a domino effect. Everything leads to the other.
Tell me your 5 biggest, strongest tips for being a better person.
Let me think about that. I can give you 30, right? So when you talk about being better people, number one is accountability. I think that's the number one thing that we can do better in each of us, right? Is we have to first be accountable for the decisions that we make, the choices that we make, right? Number 2 is honesty. Are we honest with ourselves about our strengths, about our weaknesses? Are we able to look ourselves and self-reflect? I think that's where honesty comes in, right? That integrity with yourself and with the people that you're out here dating with, right? I think you have to have a natural desire to give, right? Because as you give to other people, you ultimately hold yourself to a higher standard, right? That's what happens when you decide to give to other people. You pour into other people, you have to be better. So what I do has raised my standard as who I am as a person, right? When you don't give anything, then you don't expect a lot of yourself, right? Standards are key to becoming a better person. You have to hold yourself to a standard that says, no matter what happens, I'm not reacting that way, right? So I think standards are part of the 4th thing. And let me think of number 5. Number 5 has to be the desire to want more, right? Complacency is so rampant. Right? Complacency is so rampant in our society where people sit there and they wait on someone to give them something, or they wait on their mate to do it for them instead of seeding what they need, right? I call it seed what you need. So if you want things to be better, you have to be better, right? So stop being complacent in what you do. I think those 5 things, you put them all together and you ultimately become a better person, because now your self-esteem, your value is raised to a higher level. When your value is raised, you make more valuable decisions.
Okay, what are the biggest mistakes people make when dating?
Number 1 is they're not being honest, right? They're not being honest with themselves. They're not being honest with other people. And that right there trumps everything. When you're not honest, then it leaves too many gray areas, right? Number 2 is I think that people are, they're not, what's the word I'm looking for? They're not dating with purpose. So when I say not dating with purpose, I mean that we go out and we date very recreationally with no goal in mind. So when you have no goal in mind when you're dating, then guess what? Your behaviors are erratic, right? So that kind of leads into the 3rd thing, which is people don't date with values in mind, right? So if my values are one thing, why am I dating people that don't have those same values? So when you see that's the clash, right? So now you end up with these 2 people in an unhealthy relationship. Even though they knew they had separate values, they started to try to make it work, and it just doesn't work because your values are who you are into your core. So I think those are the top 3 mistakes people probably make when they're dating.
Okay, I want to go back to more detail about who you are. I know you're married now. That was recently, or you've been married for a while?
2011. Yeah, April 2000. It'll be a year and a half. April 2012.
When did you transition from the dating without a purpose? Were you ever dating without a purpose?
No, actually. Well, what's the thing? So I met my wife when I was in college. So I was 19, she was 21. And so we kind of went through a spell where it was kind of an emotional roller coaster. And then eventually we decided that we were going to be exclusive. So people always ask the question, well, what took you so long to marry? Well, the thing is, through my study, through what I knew about psychology, I know that your 20s are your most transitional period in life. So I wanted to make sure that the person I was at 29 or 28 was the same compatible person with her that I was at 19, 20, 21. So it just so happened that we were together. I knew I wanted to make her my wife the first time I met her. In fact, I'll tell you a funny story. The first time I actually spoke to her, the first thing I asked her was, when are you going to marry me? And she thought it was the corniest thing ever. She did. And so when I proposed to her, I took her back to the spot that I said that. And I came back and said, so when are you going to marry me? And so that just tells you I had that in mind, from the beginning. And it just happened to work out.
So since you were the type who already had in mind that you wanted to marry, what about the types who don't have that in mind? Is it room for change, or do people stay the same?
I think there's room for change in your intentions, right, and in your values. So early on in your 20s, you might be about having sex. You might be about conquering as many women as you can. But as you progress, as a man, number one, and as a woman too, you want something of substance. You want something that you can hold on to, something you can build something from. Everybody goes through that transition. So I think around 28 to 30, a lot of men go through that transition. Women go through it a little bit earlier. And so there has to come a time where you want something you can hold on to, someone to come home to every night, someone to build a family with. And you can't do that if you're constantly in the streets, just looking for a quick orgasm, right? So I think that's what happens. You go through that transitional period. You've got your career, you've got your, a little bit of money that you want, but you want someone to share it with. And so that's where I come in. I try to get people at an earlier time, so when it comes to the time where they're ready to have that conversation, they know what it takes to build that relationship.
So what do you do for your clients?
So the main thing I do is I give them insight, right? Number one. Number two is I help motivate them. Number three is I help put together feasible plans, right? So we put together plans that say, okay, you start off with this goal. If your goal is to get a husband, right? If that's your goal is to find a husband, then we put together a game plan that says, okay, these are the steps you need to take. These are the behaviors you need to exert. These are the values you need to tell people about if you're looking for that mate. So pretty much what it is, it's a matter of me giving them a perspective that's different from what they already know, right? Then we put together a plan. Then we hold them accountable to that plan, and I help motivate them through the process. So if they fall off the wheel, then I'm there to pick them back up. So that's what I get from my clients. That's what I allow them to do. It's just like any other coach, right? It's like a basketball coach. He gives you the skills you need, but he gives you the training program. It's up to you to follow it, right? So that's what I do as a relationship coach.
If there's any piece of advice that anyone has ever given to you that you want everyone else to have, what is it?
I think one of the biggest pieces of advice I got was from a mentor of mine. He said, you have to think beyond the sex. Right? Because sex is easy. That's the thing that everybody falls back to. We divert to sex because it feels good. Right? So we'll blame stuff on sex. Oh, I just wanted some, or whatever it might be. But he was married, almost 50 years. And he said, son, you have to get to a time in your life where you got to think beyond the sex. And so when he said that, I didn't know quite what he meant. And then I asked him a little more, and he said, it's about substance. It's about having something you can build, something you can build a legacy on, something you can hold on to far beyond your days. So because one day you will get old, and one day you won't be here anymore. So what are people going to look back and hold on to? You don't want it to be just how many women you had sex with. You want it to be of something you built. So I think that's the biggest piece of advice, is substance over sex.
Okay. And my final question is going back to what I talked to you about earlier with people being anti-relationship coach, anti-relationship guru. What will you tell people who are anti that will draw them into your movement?
I think first I need to draw them into the mission, right? You can't deny what the mission is. If the mission is better people first, which equals better mates, which equals better relationships and better communities, you can't argue with being a better person, right? And so if I can help inspire you to first be a better person, you will ultimately be a better mate. And then you will create a healthier relationship. If you're anti-relationship coach, that's fine. But if what you've been doing hasn't worked yet, I always put it like this. If you got all the answers to the test, then why you keep failing, right? That's the question you have to ask yourself. A coach is really just there to help guide you through. If you're anti-coach, hey, that's fine, but you got to find a way. Maybe it's a mentor you find. Maybe it's a sister or someone. But you got to find somebody that gives you a perspective that's different than the one you have. Because what you've been doing hasn't worked yet.
Okay. Your name is?
Joy.
Joy, how long have you been coming to Exclusive Conversations?
This is my second time. So the first time I think was about 6 months ago, maybe 6 or 7 months.
How was it?
It was great. Very good information. I think a lot of people learned a lot from the conversation. A lot of people participated. It was really great. So it's very good.
Productive conversation?
Huh?
Very productive
It was
conversation?
very productive. I think people took a lot back and tried to use it for future relationships.
All right, I am with Chris. Chris, how long have you been coming to these conversations?
This is actually my first time.
And are you looking forward to it?
I'm looking very forward to it. It should be quite intriguing and, getting the point of views of male and female. So, it's a lot of confusion out there about the males and the females. So I'm looking forward to it.
What brought you out tonight?
Well, actually, I heard one of my friends, one of my colleagues, was telling me about it and said I should come. So the opportunity presented itself, so I came.